Thank you for that warm welcome. Wonderful 2 days here and not a cloud in sight. So, but then where's the silver lining, right, behind every cloud? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly go through this set of slides that I have today. I have met most of the press and media folks here, as well as the analysts, in the one-on-one meetings that we've had yesterday and today. We've talked about cloud, we've talked about the challenges, we've talked about the offering from Tata Communications. What we will do here today is quickly possibly recap some of those discussions that we have had, and then get into an interactive session that will be chaired by Amit. So, in terms of why cloud, why is it important for enterprises? If we look at what is happening out there in the world today, in terms of business, in terms of reaction times, in terms of the way companies have to move quickly in order to be able to survive, it has never been seen in the history of time, in the history of industry, the speeds at which companies are having to really react in order to bring products and services to market, simply in order to stay ahead of one another. There is hyper competition, and all of that has to be dealt with less resources. We've all heard about doing more with less, right? Now it's doing even more with even less, right? And there is the increasing ability that is now being required by companies to actually be able to predict what the market is going to need. It's about anticipating. It's about being proactive. No longer being a follower will allow us to be profitable or even survive. So, what are the challenges that organizations and enterprises are facing today in order to be able to just keep up, in order to be able to exist and be profitable? Clearly, if we look at applications, if we look at test and development, if we look at the ability for companies to adopt, adapt, and roll out computing infrastructure quickly, about being able to have show results in very limited time frames, it is impossible to actually follow the old traditional model of calling in a vendor, doing the sizing, getting an order, purchase order placed, waiting for the equipment to be delivered, getting a site ready for it, installing it, and all of that. We all know about it, right? Today we need it now, in an instant. Right? How do we get going tomorrow, today? So, essentially what the demands are driving this is about growth. It's about the ability to support a burst in terms of a spike and pay for only the service that you're consuming, that you're using, and not just pay for excess capacity. And it could be one-off. And we have some examples that I'll talk about later. So essentially what we're saying is that the old legacy model, which was based on a reactive, more planned, tactical implementation model, is now moved. It's no longer moving, but it's moved to a new model which has to be proactive, which enables the companies and organizations to be able to take a strategic view of the market and thereby drive their leadership. And of course, all of that is being done in order to grow, in order to survive. So, if we look at some of our analyst predictions, everyone of course is bullish about cloud. Gartner is actually predicting IaaS, that's infrastructure as a service, to be 23% of all hosted IT, right, by 2014. That's a huge, huge number, right? We're already in 2011. So, for the enterprise who's out there fighting it out, battling in this new hyper-competitive market, what will cloud actually allow them to deliver, right? It is, of course, to be able to grow in the competitive market. It's about being able to be flexible and agile as a global corporation. It's about being able to have processes that can be streamlined and shared across global regions. It's about being more financially prudent and paying for what they use. And all of this actually adds up into increased productivity. Now, I'm not going to spend any time on this, I promise, Camille, because I think we've beaten this to death in terms of what is cloud, what are the different types of cloud. We talked about this at the one-on-one meeting, so I'm going to just zip through this. And similarly on this slide as well, where we are talking about the different delivery models. and how they're deployed, right? So I think this is something that we've spent significant time on as this. These are some of the players who are there prevalent in the market, providing different types of services, infrastructure, platform, and software. So, if we look at the various services, typically the way you see an adoption model is companies usually start with software as a service, right? They would like to test out different applications that perhaps they do not want to buy, right? That they have a transient need for. So often you will see that software as a service is where the relationship starts. Platform as a service is more focused on the ISVs, the developers, who are developing applications and would like to take it to market based on a certain platform that they may not own. Ultimately, what we will have is infrastructure as a service where companies will be able to provision their servers, their data center requirements, storage, networking, on the cloud, on the internet, using a browser from their PCs and their netbooks and notebooks. So what it's going to do for the enterprise of the future is allow them to provision and use these applications, these resources, these softwares when they need it, where they need it, because cloud means it's over the internet, it can be accessed from anywhere. And the most important part, of course, over here is pay for what you use, right? So, the cloud is available, it's on demand, it is simple to manage, it is fully self-service in the sense the customer can decide how they want to set it up, and at the end of the day, it turns out to be extremely cost-effective, right? IaaS, as infrastructure as a service, actually helps us make this transition, right? It helps customers adopt this whole cloud, so enterprises adopt this whole cloud infrastructure. I'm not going to belabor on this point, but just as an example, from what would earlier take months plus to deliver, can be done in a matter of minutes today. And there are studies which are saying that the cost savings could be as much as 70% or even more by deploying a cloud-based model. So what that results is cuts the delays and lowers the cost and gives us more flexibility and scalability. Now, what are some of those areas? And these are some of the questions and discussions that we've had in our table discussions over yesterday and today. Is cloud for everyone? Is cloud for every application? Is cloud for every customer? Well, these are the areas where we see that we are having significant deployment and take-up in terms of cloud services. Application development testing, no questions asked, right? It's project-based. You get a project for application development, turn on the cloud, do your development. It's done, finished with the testing, turn it off, right? Ability to onboard, ability to have web services, web servers, right, which may have burstable requirements. A project that is temporary, transient in nature. The ability to actually have standardized business requirements because cloud services are shareable across the entire global enterprise, right? Thereby improving the processes. Collaboration. You have people from multiple geographies, multiple countries being able to work together on the same application because the access is there, right? And obviously, for people who are traveling, many of us, we could of course continue as if we are in office over here. Maybe some of us want to be on the beach, right, at this time. But with the cloud service, we can continue our work. So, just to summarize on that, application test development, some of the web applications that are elastic in nature, temporary needs, event-based applications, which could be a promotion or a certain seasonal offer that a company may decide to put out that requires tremendous server capacity in order to capture the demand, right? And then finally, on collaboration. So with that, I'll conclude the presentation now by saying that there are two value propositions clearly. One is, of course, save the money, and the other one is making the business more competitive and be able to be out there in the market, competing in this new era of growth, right? Both of these are important. It's not only about reducing cost, but it's also about being more effective, right? So there's a balance between reducing cost, being more effective, and cloud solutions actually are allowing the enterprises to deliver on both these counts, right? So at the end of the day, what it will allow is the enterprise of the future to survive, grow, and prosper in the current scheme of things. So with that, I'll end my presentation. Thank you.